All right, what's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are back with Inferno. Yes, we are. God, this story is so good. Like, the ending of this is nuts. Okay, so here's the thing, right? So Inferno, as you guys know, in the last video that we did, it was basically the return of Destiny, which was one of the most terrifying things for like Xavier and Magneto and those guys, because Destiny is a precog, right? Where Magneto and Xavier are able to guide Krakoa under the auspices that they know what's best for everybody and that they have to just kind of trust their leadership. Destiny can actually see the future. She actually knows what's going to happen. And that's kind of a crazy thing here, because when you're dealing with someone who knows the future, suddenly the manipulations of Xavier and Magneto become a lot harder to implement. But what this does is it actually opens up with really some time before all of this took place, that you actually have Mystique, who basically begins the process of bringing Destiny back. And that was the question that we had, right? How did Destiny somehow manage to return? How did that end up happening? And so what this does is it actually has Mystique basically traveling to Island M, right? The home of Magneto, essentially, right? Using the Quinjet, she arrives on the scene, then basically takes the helmet of Xavier, makes herself look like Charles Xavier, and then goes to visit Sinister. Now, the funny thing about this is Sinister immediately picks up on what's going on, right? He's just like, look at you all dressed up, always playing a part as always, right? Like, Sinister immediately knows this is Mystique. Now, a lot of this goes into just the nature of Sinister himself, right? Sinister's been around Mystique enough times to know what's going on. He's been around her enough times to know when she's being manipulative, and Xavier wouldn't really just show up and visit Sinister like this for this particular thing. The other part of this is that because Sinister hands Mystique something, it looks like it was a prearranged meeting, right? So Sinister already kind of knew that it was Mystique when she showed up here. But the important thing is that this leads to Mystique pretending to be Xavier showing up to the Five. Now, as you guys know, the Five are the ones who are responsible for resurrecting dead mutants and then restoring their memories to them, all that kind of cool stuff, right? The whole resurrection process. Now, the other thing about this is that by and large, when it comes to those individuals, those members of the Five, their belief in Xavier is beyond contestation. They don't question him. They take what Xavier does as an absolute truth. And so when he shows up and he hands them a vial, which is going to serve the purpose of resurrecting a dead mutant, and he says, this is to bring this mutant back, at the end of the day, they're like, okay. They don't question it. It's not like, how did you get this? Like, what's going on here? Like, this is an unexpected resurrection. None of that happens. Instead, it's just like, okay, cool. So of course, they inject the vial into the resurrection pod, and then from there, Destiny basically reemerges. Now, the cool thing about this, and one of the things to keep in mind when it comes to resurrection, is you're basically a clean slate. This was Jonathan Hickman borrowing heavily from the Eternals, right? The Eternals have been doing this for eons, right? For about 1 million years or so, since their existence. Every time an Eternal dies, they basically come back in this exact same capacity. I mean, it doesn't follow the exact form, right? They're not born in an egg. Instead, it's basically just a body for themselves that's created by the machine, right? The Earth itself, right? But the systems that were left behind by the Celestials. And so when the question's asked by Hope Summers, okay, Xavier, are you ready to give her memories? Of course, whenever Mystique turns into someone, she cannot copy their powers. She's not capable of that. So when the question's asked, are you ready? Mystique has to find a way to dodge the question, which she does in a fantastic fashion. She actually plays on the nature of Hope Summers, right? So for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with this, after the Scarlet Witch had taken away 98% of the mutant population's powers, Hope Summers was the first mutant who was born after what was referred to as M-Day. And in fact, she is hugely powerful. But the reason why she's called Hope Summers is because she was adopted by Cable, who's the child of Cyclops and Madeline Pryor. The fact that Hope looks like Jean Grey in a lot of ways, that was Marvel initially teasing the idea that Jean Grey was going to come back, and then basically pulling the rug out from everybody and saying, actually, it's a girl named Hope, you know, and then that was basically it, right? It's not Jean Grey, it's just a girl named Hope, and she looks like Jean Grey, and Jean Grey will maybe come back at a future point in time. But the thing about this is that Mystique plays on that and says, like, you're one of the most powerful mutants in existence. That's why we put you here as part of the resurrection process. Like, literally, Hope Summers has the ability to duplicate the powers of anybody she's around and amplify the powers of people she's around, right? There's seemingly no upper limit to those powers. We haven't seen how far it can go, but I imagine it can go pretty daggone far. But Hope Summers is kind of like, I mean, I've never done this before, so yeah, sure, I'm definitely excited about this, right? And so at that point, Mystique's like, cool, right? Here's the helmet, do your thing. And so as Hope goes through and basically finds what is in effect the memories or the personality traits of Destiny and then plants them into her mind, then at that point, Mystique, again, pretending to be Xavier, is like, well, this is a very, very delicate process, right? So I'll hang back here and get this sorted out. You guys go celebrate and do your thing, right? Which basically kind of shunts them off. And then following that, it's the recovery process. Now, this, if anything, was a testament testament to the relationship between Mystique and Irene Adler, right? Mystique and Destiny. That given the history of these two, right? The romantic relationship they've had, the fact that they've been together for so long, the death of Destiny was this just crushing moment for Mystique, right? Because in that moment, she had seemingly lost everything that meant anything to her in her life. For Destiny herself to be returned to Mystique and for Mystique to have her back creates a sense of unity and wholeness that neither one of them have had for quite some time. The kicker to this is that because of the fact that Destiny has been gone for so long, that all these things that have happened in the past and all these things that are going to happen in the future just come flooding back at one time. And that was kind of the nature of Destiny, right? Because as she began to use her powers and realize what she was capable of, that where they started off as dreams, then she started to realize they were actually precognitive visions, she was able to ease into it. And she was able to kind of grasp everything that was happening because she was able to see them at a reasonable and slow pace because they were coming at a reasonable and slow pace, right? This is like you not reading comics for like 15 years, and then I come along with every single issue of comics that you missed and just sitting them in front of you and say, here you go, right? It's overwhelming. It's immensely overwhelming. And so for her, it almost kind of seems to shut her down, right? It's more than she can handle. And so what we get is this kind of explanation that the first week that Destiny returned, by the seemingly endless atemporal waves of future possibilities that were completely and totally alien to her, right? She was lost, a seer out of time. But as hard as the first week was, the second week was most difficult. Why? Because love brought Destiny back. That and the underlying loyalty of a wife desperate to be reunited with her wife. However, while Destiny was unchanged, frozen in time, from the time they last saw one another, Mystique had changed. It's not as though she died like a year and a half ago, right? So it's like right before the events of Krakoa. She's been gone for a long, long time, and everything that happened in between made Mystique harder. And a lot of that was just because of the fact that Mystique really experiencing the death of Destiny, losing something that significant to her, made her a hard person. And the funny thing about it is that this kind of hardness that Mystique had, that was a shell, that was an exterior, that Mystique didn't think she was still that vulnerable anymore. And talking to Destiny and seeing and actually realizing, right, the reality of the situation, that Destiny is truly back. It's not some kind of vision. It's not like she gets to have a moment with her. She is actually back forevermore until such a time as she dies in the future, just overwhelms Mystique, and she just totally falls apart. It's not something she thought she could experience anymore. But the important thing is that with that, the two of them now being back together, they have a heart, right? They have a greater purpose. So week 3 was them just kind of enjoying the company of one another, right? Week 4 was making plans. And so that goes into the final issue that we had, which was Destiny being brought on to the Quiet Council. Now, here's the issue. Everyone here knows who Destiny is. They know who she is. They know what she's capable of, right? They know what she stands for. And so Xavier is just kind of like, okay, so I have 2 votes that I want to call, right? And then Destiny immediately calls him on the first one and says, do you really want to vote to get Mystique out of here? Because I can tell you exactly how it's going to happen, right? So then that leads into the second vote, right? And the second vote is basically to allow Destiny onto the Quiet Council. Now, seemingly Destiny knows how all this is going to play out, but this is a genius move by Jonathan Hickman. He doesn't tell us, right? Destiny doesn't even tell us. She doesn't say like, here's how it's all actually going to happen. Here's what's going to take place here. Because in reality, if she did, it would seemingly curtail the vote. I would have to imagine in this particular scenario that it would be better, it would be more interesting for Destiny and really more enjoyable to watch Xavier and to watch Magneto fail than it is to basically tell them that they're going to fail, right? To see the shock on their faces. Not only that, a lot of back alley deals have been made here, right? That what you of course have is Magneto and Xavier who are like, no, Destiny cannot join the Quiet Council, right? Storm votes against it as well, but then Nightcrawler votes yes, but he only votes yes because he wants to appease his mom, which actually Mystique was counting on. From there, it goes to Exodus. Now, Bennett Duperry has always been just this really, really interesting character, right? He's stupidly powerful, right? I mean, his telepathy is astronomical, right? I mean, this guy is I would say he's beyond anybody here, right? Beyond Emma Frost and beyond Xavier. Kind of depends on the circumstance, but he was created by Apocalypse, right? This guy's power is virtually unrivaled by any of the superheroes on Earth, you know, minus the reality warpers, you gotta throw those in there. But there was a deal that was struck between Destiny and Exodus, right? And that Exodus basically said, like, over the course of my life, I've been used for one cause or the other. But here on Krakoa, I'm my own man, right? No one uses me here. I have my own outlook on this world. I make my own decisions and I decide what my fate will be. So if you are going to come to me and you are going to ask me for your support in bringing somebody on and you're not telling me who they are or what they're capable of or why you even want them in the first place, then I can't be bribed here. You're going to have to give me a good reason. Now, Exodus is what you call a believer. This guy believes in Krakoa, right? Because it's really the only place that, one, he's felt safe, and two, he's felt like he belonged. And so that's when Mystique says, the person that I'm bringing on here can ensure the survival of this place. That she says, like, there is a prophet to be resurrected, right? Now, Exodus very much believes in the idea of prophets. He believes in the idea of those individuals out there that can ensure their survival by seeing their future. And so because that's such an intricate part of his character, she says, like, what if I told you that prophet had a name, and that name was the same as what she offered, a destiny? What would you say then? And the response of Exodus is, I'm in, right? Like he immediately is in. So he of course votes yes, right? At that point, it follows up to the point when she went to go visit Sinister again, all of this happening before the actual vote for destiny. And of course she says, like, I need your help with this. And he's like, why would I do that? Like, give me a good argument, right? Give me a good point. Why should I side with you here, right? I mean, honestly, I have my own motivations, but I also kind of enjoy seeing you fail, Mystique. So why in the world would I agree to support you and your demands? You know, illuminate, good thespian. Spell it out for me. And she's like, it's simple, actually. Everybody else is going to demand that you do it. And Sinister's like, no one tells Sinister what to do. I'm down. So that's one of the funniest moments for him. So he's like, I vote yes. Kitty Pryde, of course, is like, no, not a chance. And then at that point, they're tied 4-4. So then it goes to Sebastian Shaw. And Sebastian Shaw, while you would expect the fact that he has a grudge against Kitty Pryde and Emma Frost, and in turn would vote like in support of it just to spite Kitty Pryde, it's actually a little bit deeper than that. It's actually exactly what you would expect it would be. Like there's a kind of fencing thing, right? It's just them kind of doing their thing, right? Sebastian Shaw loves fencing. And she's having a conversation with him while all this is going on. And he's like, so what, do you intend to bribe me or something? She's like, no, I mean, what exists beyond the purse of the Black King, right? There's nothing out there in the world that you can't buy. She's like, so I'll give you a good reason, right? I'll give you a better reason for why you should vote in support of this. And when he asks what that reason is, she's like, I know for a fact that Emma Frost is going to vote against it. And so Sebastian's like, I'm in, right? That's one of the things, like, well, you could look at this and you could say, oh my God, like it's just Jonathan Hickman doing stupid stuff. No, the cool thing about this is it's petty grudges. That you look at the Quiet Council and what you expect is for something grander here, right? You expect these individuals who sit on this governing body of the mutant population, right? The whole of the mutant population lives and dies by the decisions that the Quiet Council makes. And you expect them to rise above such petty things. But the message that Hickman is conveying here is no. At the end of the day, they're every bit as petty as you think they are. They see themselves as being something better when in reality, they're not. And so what you do is you switch over to really this final vote, right? That you basically have a 5-4 vote, that you basically have yet another tied vote. And so you end up switching to Emma Frost. And at that point, what Mystique has done here was just bribe Emma Frost, right? She presents her with something that Emma's been trying to get her hands on for quite some time. Mystique was able to secure it. And then when she brings it to Emma, the response is, I will give it to you, but only if you will do something for me, right? There's going to be a vote at the next council meeting, and the White King and the White Queen is going to vote yes. And so Emma Frost does that. And what it does is it solidifies the role of Destiny on the Quiet Council. And so at that point, we switch over to Orchis. Now, one of the cool things that Hickman's done here, if you guys recall with Orchis, they're more akin to something like Advanced Idea Mechanics, right? Or like the Enclave or something like that. That while they are composed of Advanced Idea Mechanics and Hydra and all that kind of stuff, all these different scientific minds, and even in some cases, straight up villainous minds, that they're largely operating behind the scenes, right? They were responsible for bringing Nimrod online and all that kind of stuff. But they've largely been working to try to find a way to take out the entirety of the mutant population, seemingly by trying to find a way to hijack their gates. But the important thing here is that while the initial mission or this initial attempt is yet another failure, they've made a little more progress than they did before. But you get a little bit of mystery going on here in the sense that you have Omega, who again is formerly an Omega Sentinel, those created by Bastion, who was a merging of the original Nimrod and the Sentinel creator Master Mold into one mind. That Omega still kind of exists out there, but is basically serving or operating seemingly against the mutant population that has this conversation with Nimrod. And one of the things that we learn here is that Nimrod's been running simulations. In effect, Nimrod's been growing smarter. That Nimrod's been running all these different simulations, trying to make himself more powerful, more capable. What if he faces off against this mutant or that mutant, different things like that, facing his own destruction and then coming back again, that sort of a thing. And the whole idea behind this is that apparently that they are ready for some kind of a conversation. We don't really know what it is. We're not really given any explanation here. Instead, it's just very, very cloak and dagger. But I cover this because I feel like that's going to become very important later on down the line. If I'm being honest with you, I think Omega's a spy. I think she's working for the X-Men population on Orchis and pretending to be a villain, because she was at one point kind of a hero, right? So I think that's what's really going on with it. I don't know, but I'd like to believe that that's what's actually taking place. But the other part of this is that if you guys recall the last video, that Destiny had actually caught up to Moira MacTaggert when she realized what Moira MacTaggert was doing, dying, coming back, reliving these lives, different things like that. And the warning she gave her is that if you continue this, we will destroy you, right? We'll officially kill you. We'll go back to when you were a little child before your powers manifest, and we'll destroy you so that you are officially dead forevermore. What Moira MacTaggert is doing here flies in the face of the order she was given by Mystique and Destiny. More so than that, the fact that Destiny's returned seems to really indicate that like Moira MacTaggert is facing her own mortality. She's afraid she's gonna die. And that's what she says. Like, Destiny, it'll take her no time at all to figure out what's going on with you guys, right? To figure out that there's something that you guys are doing. You're working with some third party. And then from that point, it's only a matter of time before she realizes it's me. And when that happens, sure, her and Mystique, they'll burn all this down. They'll destroy all of this. They'll kill you. Then they'll kill me, right? They will come after us. And so at that point, it's kind of like, okay, they kind of get into this discussion about like, we have to kill Destiny. Now, this is a side of Moira MacTaggert, at least as is hinted at, this is a side of Moira MacTaggert that Xavier and Magneto haven't seen before. And that's the important thing to understand, that from Moira MacTaggert's perspective, this kind of greater goal of ensuring the mutant population's survival, or at least that seems to be the case, that's the most important thing. And everybody here, including Xavier and Magneto themselves, they're expendable. And so seeing that from Moira MacTaggert's perspective, while it doesn't lead them to abandon Moira MacTaggert, it does change the way they see her, right? It's just kind of like she's having this discussion about like the pragmatic action of just killing Destiny. And when the question's asked, like, can you guys do it? Magneto says, I mean, she wears a metal helmet on her head, right? Like, I could just crush the helmet and kill her, but I'm not going to do that. And when the question's asked why, he says, like it or not, she sits on the council. I'm not a child. I can tolerate a certain level of pragmatism when it comes to how things are run here in paradise, but I have waited my whole life for this place. I will not defile it just because you find it expedient, right? It's kind of an amazing stance from Magneto, that from his perspective, this mutant nation of Krakoa, a land where the mutant population can live absent the fear of death at the hands of the human population, is what he's always wanted. The way he's gone about it has been questionable over the years, but at the end of the day, he does say, however, there is still a seat that needs filling. Maybe we make our own offer that cannot be refused. Now, when he's talking about this, he's not talking about the idea of the Quiet Council. He's talking about this inner council, right? That they bring somebody in. They bring someone in and give them the truth of what's happening here. That Moira MacTaggert and Charles Xavier and Magneto are working together, that there's actually a grander plan at play here, and seemingly no one else out there in the Quiet Council or the entire mutant population know about it. And so what you end up doing is switching over to what is basically this kind of, this scenario at the Louvre, when this telepathic instructions are given to all the tourists there. And when they're all gone, they end up bringing in Emma Frost. That Emma Frost, from their perception, is the one person they can trust. Now, there's good reason for this, right? There's good reason for this. Emma Frost, yes, she did historically start out as a villain when she was introduced in the old X-Men stories by Chris Claremont, right? She was a member of the Hellfire Club. But the death of the Hellions changed Emma Frost, right? The Hellions were like her own version of the New Mutants, right? Her own kind of teenage villainous team, and they would constantly fight against the New Mutants. But the actions of Emma Frost, that great big huge conflict, the death of the Hellions themselves, changed her irrevocably. And so that's why she actually joined the X-Men and then became the leader of Generation X and has essentially been a hero ever since. It changed the way in which she saw the world. Her loyalties to Krakoa, to Xavier, to Magneto, to the cause, they are beyond contestation here. No one could ever question that. That she's done a couple of unsavory things, but at the end of the day, it was all for furthering the mission of Xavier and Magneto. So when they come to her and they say, we want you to be a part of this, that when she initially sees Moira MacTaggert, she's like, okay, that's kind of cool. I thought you were dead. But if she is really the center of all of this, then why? She's a human, right? Why would a human be at the center of the formation of Krakoa and the motivation and reasoning for why it was done? And the response of Xavier is, she's not a human, she's a mutant. And if you don't believe me, read her mind, right? It'd be a much easier thing for Emma Frost to read the mind of Moira MacTaggert than for them to like sit down and explain everything, right? So she literally does that, reads the mind of Moira MacTaggert, and then is just kind of overwhelmed by what she sees, this grand motivation and all this stuff. But then at that point, she's like, don't touch me. I don't want to have anything to do with any of you. And of course, the response of Magneto is, I understand how you feel. It was difficult when I first learned of all of this. And then the question is asked, how long ago was that? How long ago was it that you learned about this, that you learned about all these futures where the entire mutant population is totally obliterated, completely and totally wiped out, that Moira MacTaggert came to you with all this stuff and said, we're going to form Krakoa, we're going to do all this stuff for the grander good. How long was it that you knew about that? And the question is dodged, right? The question is dodged quite a bit, right? Like they never really give her a definitive answer. And so Moira MacTaggert steps up and says, okay, fine, you feel left out, that's understandable. But notice she says here, but that's looking at all of this the wrong way. Outside of us, you're the first one that we let in. And the response of Xavier is, because we trust you. And the response of Magneto is, it's more than that. We need you, Emma. Your nation needs you. They try to appeal to her, I guess, patriotism, if you want to call it that. And she ponders for a second. Of course, notice she turns into her diamond form, which you can't read her mind in her diamond form. And she says, of course, for the children. But because of the fact of everything that's happened, because she was essentially sold a lie by Xavier and Magneto, she was never told the truth about what all is happening here, despite the fact that she has displayed over and over and over again that her loyalties are to never be questioned. She says, you've manipulated me for years, and now I can see what kind of threat a precog represents. Well, I am a true mutant. I sit on the council, so I'll give the matter the proper consideration. But my loyalty, you arrogant fools, have lost that forever. Now, this is huge because the question they're left asking here is, did we just make an enemy out of Emma Frost? And if they did, she's the last person you want to make an enemy out of. Because while Xavier and Magneto are the ones that kind of run this whole show, the reality is all these different members of the Quiet Council, Storm and Nightcrawler, Mystique, Destiny now, Emma Frost, Exodus, Sebastian Shaw, they've all got their own contacts. They've all got their own networks, private networks, public networks, underground networks, black markets, different things like that. The last thing you want is someone like Emma Frost that has wildly high levels of telepathy, that has the loyalty of a lot of mutants at her disposal, and has her own network to be your enemy, because Emma Frost could be a one-man army. Not only that, she's intricate to Krakoa. So all she has to do is just cut off the entirety of Krakoa's ability to send its medicines out into the world, or to seed some kind of disdain against the mutant population by sowing lies in the minds of people using her telepathy, and suddenly they have this just massive calamity they have to contend with. There's 1,000 ways she could screw over Xavier and Magneto. It's the last person you want to have against you. And so following that, a final vote is issued for a missing seat, right? For the final seat of the Quiet Council, right? This final vote is issued. Xavier says, we've put the name forth, that name has rung out, right? So you guys are about to vote on this person, a mutant, to join our number and fill the final seat of the Quiet Council. So now we vote. And so at that point, Sinister's like, you know what? I don't like the way this one looks, so no. Exodus votes yes. Mystique votes no, right? Kitty Pryde votes yes. Emma Frost votes yes. Sebastian Shaw, of course, votes no because he's a dick. Nightcrawler is like, I am overjoyed to vote yes, right? I've known this person for a very long time. Storm says yes, right? Xavier yes, Magneto yes, Destiny no. And so it's 7-4, 4 against. And he says, we have once again added to our number. Now we are whole. Welcome, brother. We are honored to have Colossus join the Quiet Council. With that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this video to an end. Thank you guys for watching. God, I love Colossus, and I will catch you all later. Peace.